Welcome back, and our guest is on set. Let's welcome Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt Angus. She is the political leader of the IDA. Good morning and welcome, ma'am.
Good morning, Brother B. Good morning, Tobago, Trinidad, and the rest of the world.
Happy heritage to you. Time longer than twine is the tagline.
That's right.
Is so you're enjoying your heritage as
Time
well?
longer than twine. I haven't been out yet,
All right.
but I'm certainly looking forward to this coming week and some of the activities.
Very good. All right, so let's get into what has been plaguing Tobago within recent time. As far as the health sector is concerned, we were overwhelmed with sick people, Dr. Tsoiafatt Angus, going to the hospital. In some cases, beds were not available, and they blamed the last administration for having such little beds. 100 beds was not enough in the first instance. However, we have had one hospital. We have two hospitals now, right? And we are out of beds. And we have one up the fort, as we call it, that accommodated all of Tobago. Let's speak to the situation that happened, what led to it. People not being healthy or not keeping in good health, hence they had to be at the hospital. And if that's the case, then there will just be a space to accommodate the patients. Let's speak to that.
So I want to start with that myth that says we don't have enough beds. We have enough beds. Beds were allocated per international standards. International standards based on health care, which is not just about a hospital, but also about a primary care foundation that is solid enough, right, to accommodate that. And that is the challenge we are having, because the primary care system has not been strengthened on all fronts to the point of wellness and helping people to understand how to stay well rather than waiting until they need a hospital bed. One of those major pillars that has caused this, I am sure, is the fact that we have had a declining economy, so people can't buy food in enough quantities like they should. They're buying less and less of healthy foods naturally. And also the fact that there are no medications. Oftentimes you go to the pharmacy, there are no medications available to our chronic non-infectious disease patients. And so patients are left with a choice. Do I buy medication or do I buy food? And sometimes that choice is a hard choice to make, especially for a pensioner. And you don't have the support system of social services saying, if you're out of your medication, I'll give you a voucher so you can go to the pharmacy and get it. So people are often left to juggle. And they may decide, okay, well, doctors say I should take this once a day or twice a day. I have to stretch it because I can't afford to buy. I'm going to take it every other day or just once a day. And so when you're forced to make those types of choices, you're going to end up with sick people.
So let's put aside, so there's supposed to be a place, whatever contributes to the ailment, they're supposed to be accommodated at our health facilities. We have the most health facilities throughout. I think we can put that against any other island. Tobago, I think every village have a health center.
Yeah.
However, it seems as though people are not utilizing the health centers. And during your administration, those health centers were equipped, in some of them, just as the hospital, to accommodate and to prevent people to going to this hospital that have 100 beds.
Absolutely.
Let's speak to the availability of the health facilities that people may not be utilizing for maybe minor things and want to go up to the hospital and so on. So let's speak to that.
When last have you had any ads on your show here telling you about health and how to utilize the health facilities and educating you in any way? In the last 3 years, have you had any of those ads? No, you have not. Yeah? If you are recognized, and the secretary on an interview yesterday on Tobago Updates admitted that this crisis has been going on for 3 years. If you know it's going on for 3 years, what did you put in place to turn it around? And so something as simple as putting ads consistently on the TV to begin educating and re-educating people, building back trust in people actually going to the health center and advising them what are some of the things they could use to go to the health center, deciding what are the zones where you may have health centers that may open later in the afternoons and even into the evening. So a consistent education program is part of primary care. Yeah? But we see that those things were not put in place. How could you admit that you had a failing health sector, overwhelmed, in crisis for the past 3 years, and you have not done any of these things? I mean, that is unheard of, but she also gave the reason why. She said she was an OJT. Okay? So let's look at that term.
While in office?
That's what she said. She was an OJT for the last 3 years. Yes? So let's look at that term OJT, on-the-job trainee. An on-the-job trainee does not get the salary of somebody who is experienced and expect to perform. An on-the-job trainee has, some sort of mentor and oversight and guidance throughout this. Who did she have? Yeah? An on-the-job trainee does not expect to automatically get back a position once they finish training. Yeah, because if you've not done well during your training, what? Why did it take you 3 years to learn? I mean, come on. What kind of training you expect to learn?
Okay.
So with all of that, we now have a health sector in crisis because we had an OJT in there.
All right. Okay.
And
So
reckless decisions have been made throughout.
All right, so we saw the
still.
presence of Lakram Boodoo, who is the Minister of Health, coming to treat with that whole problem of lack of beds. And I am hoping that the extension, or there's a plan for extension. The Secretary of Health, Dr. Faith, did say that we need to have this expansion of the hospital to accommodate more beds.
I hope the press release was not just to trigger the building and the acceptance of building new beds. I continue to maintain, if we take up all the money and continue to build hospitals and expand hospitals and all of that, there will never be enough beds. Never. Okay?
So
Every other place is going towards shoring up primary care models. Do they need another trip elsewhere to find out that?
So you're saying that to treat with this issue of increased illness on the island, primary care
is your
critical.
answer. It's critical.
Right. So let's just go into that whole question of what primary care is. So it means, therefore, if we, as you said, advertise what is offered in the community health centers, then it will cut down on the number of ailments.
You advertise what is offered. Yes, you talk to them about the centers, how they walk in, how they get assistance in comfort. You make sure that your centers are well equipped also, with your nurses, your doctors, your equipment, everything else. It is well equipped, and that the hours are appropriate for the area that they're in. Secondly, you want to, and you talk to people about seeking attention early. People often wait until the middle of the night when flour more than water, and water more than flour, right? And then you run into the emergency room. So you educate people. If you're having some chest pain or whatnot, don't wait until the night time, till it gets worse. Don't continue just drinking Alka-Seltzer or whatever. Go in early and just get a checkup. It is not uncommon that you go in and they're able to treat with your situation at the health centers. You also want to have one where you teach people to eat food, yes, and what types of food, and healthy. And you can offer, activities around that. We're talking about changing behaviors of our people. We may very well find that once you do that, your hospital beds are empty. Yeah? We need to put the monies in the right place. We're not spending the money in in the places where it needs to be. I mean, it's like getting guava money, right, for your house. You know, you can't buy food properly, but you buy Netflix. You understand?
Okay.
There's some things that you have
Right.
to
Okay.
say, let us put the monies into these things. You know, don't say we don't have money to put on Tobago Channel 5, you know, ads on Tobago Channel 5, but you're spending $17 million on an ambulance, ambulances that you can't, you know, up to now, we only seen one and they're still not
and this is where I want to come to
functioning.
next. All right, so obviously the ambulance issue, you were not satisfied with what was explained to the public by Delmon Baker, who is the CEO, and of course, Ms. Chrislyn Moore, when they held the press conference to explain what transpired, why we have the ambulances that are not functioning well, and so on, in the procurement. Let's go there. When procuring for things of that nature, ambulance, emergency vehicles, or any type of procurement, what is the process? What do we need to do in the first instance before we end up? Because what she, according to Chrislyn Moore, is that we still have the option of getting back with money if things didn't work well and so on. But let's go there. What do we need to do first? Is it putting the cart before the horse, as based on her response?
Well, I mean, why would you say that? If you bought a car that is not working, Brother B, if you bought a car, brand new car, the car giving problems, endless problems, are you going to sit down and wait 3 years to then go and return the car? Or are you going to go back to them and say, listen, this is not working, you need to change it or give us back our monies? I mean, come on, it's common sense. Don't try to fool the people by saying, oh, well, after 3 years, we could carry it back. And 3 years of problems, it's people's lives we're dealing with. I don't think these people understand. Health is not a place for OJTs. It's not a place for people who don't think like medical people. You have to have, because it is life and death that we're dealing with. How many people, more people must die? How many more people must end up on dialysis? How many more people must end up with heart problems and have to go to Trinidad? Come on.
Let's deal with the procurement of these vehicles. Obviously, something went wrong, terribly wrong with this whole...
Terribly.
Let's start from the beginning. What should have been done and what you gather that was not done, given that these vehicles are here and they're not performing up to standard? What should have been done in the first place?
Number one, I said it before, your users, your end users are critical. This is not the first time the health sector is buying ambulance, yeah? And therefore, you have to look at what ambulances you had before. Were they functioning? What were the issues? And determine whether you go back with the same type of ambulance or you switch the ambulance to something else. So, I mean, these guys, I believe the users would have wanted a similar type of ambulance. But anyway, your users are important in that process from the start to determine the specs that they need for the ambulance. The procurement committee then goes about putting on their paperwork, right? And they were supposed to send something to the procurement, the OPR, the Office of the Procurement Regulator, and I believe that was not done in there, and that is why the Chief Secretary admitted that they should now come in and do their investigation.
On the part of so the procurement process has its order, and we omitted, as you're saying, that the Chief Secretary admit that they did not go that route. That
they did not send the paperwork to the OPR, and that they need to send paperwork to the OPR, and that he's calling for an investigation.
What else were they lacking or that did not follow in terms of getting the right vehicle?
You went through a process. Somehow you got ambulances that the users said they never chose. Okay? So you have these ambulances that arrived, so-called ambulances. Number one, they were not fit for purpose. I mean, when the ambulances arrived, the staff in the EMTs were very shocked that they were not equipped, with what is normally a standard ambulance in terms of doors and I mean, I still think they're working with fans. There's no AC. It's a stick shift. I mean, come on, we're in 2025. Imagine stick shift going up all those hills for ambulance driver to be going regularly. You're then calling on health issues for that ambulance driver. Again, that is primary care. It's called occupational health. Okay? So you have these ambulances. They now have to be sent back to Trinidad or sent to Trinidad to get retrofitted with a whole lot of additional resources spent there. That's not included in the 17 million. Additional monies spent, okay? And then with those additional monies spent, you still cannot get it outfitted in a way that is appropriate.
All right.
Secondly, the ambulances. Have you seen the size of that ambulance? They report that it is too large for the terrain in Tobago to adequately get around.
All right.
And therefore, they're still going back to using the old ambulances that they have.
Doc, I want to just back up a little bit. All right. So I've had the experience of buying a vehicle online. Those days they've come in from Japan, remember? And so the people in Japan, the person who is your agent here or your booking agent who got the vehicle, bring the vehicle for you and show you everything, the features, everything. Do you like this? Is this what you're looking for? All right, let's go there. Who is responsible for ensuring that the vehicle is fitted with all that is required? And if that person erred on not ensuring that all what is required is in that vehicle, then that person or whoever the procurement person, does that fall under the same procurement process? Or is there an individual that does that separately?
No, your procurement process is not complete until the user is satisfied.
Right. Who is the user in this instance? The person who is representing the Tobago TRHA to say, look, this is not, I'm not satisfied with that. Was there any oversight?
The user, the person who drives, the staff members who drive, those are the users.
And they are the ones supposed to say what they want or what they didn't want.
Correct. And whether they got what they want.
Yeah.
Now, between them and the procurement committee and all that, they need to work out, well, this is what we ordered. This is not what we got. Yeah? And they need to work it out.
Right. So the 17 million, there is that question that these vehicles are not voting, or they're not. There was a young man on Facebook, and he was he was bitterly attacked and so on for raising the concern that the public did not get its due as far as this 17 million for these vehicles. Where are we with that? Is that over and done with? We don't hear anything more about it.
Well, it's obvious. I mean, they're hoping it's over and done with, but I understand the police would be investigating. We have called for the Joint Select Committee to investigate health. I mean, that is critical at this time. And so we hope that it is not dead because, again, this is life and death. It's not a connector road that, you spend money on that it doesn't matter if it falls into the sea, stage in the sea or whatever. We're talking about life and death. They could do whatever they want in other divisions. But you see, health is life and death and people's quality of lives that we're dealing with. You don't mess around with health. You don't have OJTs in health.
All right, that's great. All right, so I think we can move on. All right, of course, the THA is owing, I think it's 4 or 5 million to pay workers who were arbitrarily dismissed or wrongfully dismissed. The lawsuit was successful on the part of those who were dismissed. The THA is yet to pay. Just a little on your thoughts on that incident. Obviously, we know what happened with CPEP workers in Trinidad, but just bringing that into perspective as to give an overview as to how we can, let's deal with that first and then we get into the restructuring of CPEP maybe from your standpoint, what needs to be done and so on. So
you have, the reason why this was different from CPEP is that the workers in Tobago actually were interviewed for their positions through the chief administrator process. So they were actually staff under the chief administrator and the administrators. That unit that was disbanded by the administration as soon as they came in. So I am not surprised that the judge ruled in their favor, and that I am very happy that they are going to get their just dues, because it was really unconscionable for them to come in and do it that way in suspecting people that were placed there politically. They went through a process, yes? And if you go through an obvious process, all they had to do was just let them work out their time and complete the time and done with it. It would have been way cheaper for them to do that, or pay them off and send them home, than to fire them and then end up in the courts. And again, the number, and I don't know if the minority leader has asked this question, but he needs to ask this question: how many legal cases has this administration wrapped up in its short term, of 3+ years, and how many of those cases have been lost? How much monies have to be now paid to people in different places? How much legal fees that were used? Because I am convinced that legal fees route is a way to get monies out of the system. It is quite unfortunate. Yes, I said it. Come what may.
All right, okay.
But it is really sad that we spend so much money in legal fees, and at the end of the day, people can't get medication to go home with.
All right. I want to go to the budget because...
But you're missing one more part of the legal fees. I am hoping within the 30 days, I'm waiting to see the Chief Secretary file his his assets with the Integrity Commission. I think it is shameful that the head of the administration, as the leader, did not lead by example. The Integrity Commission is something that it's not new. Nobody is victimizing the Chief Secretary. It is part and parcel of being a public officer. Anytime you sit on a statutory board, you must send in your Integrity Commission papers. So board members have to do it. Secretaries have to do it. The Chief Secretary has to do it. Why wasn't it done? And so we hope that he will ensure that it is done in a timely manner, so that they don't have to cart him off to jail.
All right, well, the Integrity Commission gave him 30 days, so I guess, and I said it here, that you can't be tardy in position like that. You will have to have been broadcasting the news.
And just to update folks, Integrity Commission, when I was, way back when, in 2004, when I first got on the board, initially, they did not find my address. So it was close to a year before I realized that I have to fill out this paperwork. They were looking to see where. I'm not sure where they were sending the address. But they were quite polite about it. They made sure I got the paperwork eventually, and it was completed. Subsequent to that, what they started doing is sending out the forms and making sure you sign off as receiving the form. Okay? They will then call you a few times to remind you, send you letters to remind you. They're quite nice down there. And then they proceed to publishing your name in the newspapers.
If you don't comply.
If you don't comply. So I understand that was done twice in his case before they actually took it to High Court. That has never happened to anybody in Tobago before.
Okay. All right. So let's hope. All right. Let's go to the budget. And I want to just... All right. So we are asking for, from a 63.5 billion national budget, we in the THA are asking for 3.71 billion, 2.71 for recurrent, and of course for 1 billion for development. I could go on with URP for 91.9 million, CPEP 43.4 million. Let's speak that. I mean, that's a reasonable ask. 3.7 billion for Tobago. Just give us your overview on this.
Well, I think they are approaching this all wrong, because number one, you based your request on what could be a lie. Okay? They're saying that
The request what could
Tobagonians
be a lie?
base the request on what could be a lie.
Meaning?
You based your request on the fact that Tobago has 80,172 people living here. That's what they based the request on. According to CSO results, that is nowhere near there. It's somewhere between 60 and 65,000. Okay? So you're already gone wrong there. Right? So if you based it on that, then what you're asking for should be much less. Okay? You see, you have to understand how you base your argument is what will tie your foot. Right? And so they base the argument on
population size.
Population size.
All right, but
and that is a failed argument at this time.
All right. Well,
yeah?
All right. So let me ask you, just take a pin. All right. So if it is that we carry up the population size to get more, you're saying is a lie. But in the objective here is to get more for our development in general, because half of, or more than half of what we're asking for is for recurrent. And Doc, we have had an issue that recurrent takes more just to run the island. And that should be done, well, I don't want to give my opinion, but I have my opinion on that. However, if we are saying that it is the required percentage, or that we have continued to ask for and never really gotten, this 3.71 is within reasonable, wouldn't you say? I mean, if you're saying it's based on population
Actually,
size.
it's not enough.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
So
but you have to
you understand the point.
You have to base your arguments differently, like adults. We should not be going to Trinidad begging and say, well, you know, you didn't give us enough the last time. You need to give us a little more. And this, no. We need to be going to Trinidad and saying, listen, we are half the nation. You are in crisis down there, given your economy. Your economy has declined by about 23% over the last 10 years. And, you know, we have some ideas as to how we, through Tobago, can begin to help you turn around the economy. Here are a few, you know, basket of ideas and items that we think if we invest in this, it is not just consumption only, that if you invest in this, we can start to see returns on investment. Because you have to agree that our whole budget is based on how much we go pay people and what program you're going to create for just having people, you know, do things without truly considering a scientific return on investment. As how when you carry to the bank, when you carry your thing to the bank want to see how your projected returns, when you give you this money, how you're going to pay back for the money. And so we should not just be going with saying, we want this, but go with ideas that the government can believe, hey, you know, maybe this could be one of our diversification pillars that would help turn around the whole country. And that is the way we have to start approaching it. You then also say the same way the government is saying, well, you know, we getting this amount back in returns from oil, gas, whatever, right? Although those are decreasing, but we are going to borrow in order to meet our expenditure, right? It's the same way you should be putting in there, if government if is not giving us this, what we need to do to run the country is this, and what are we prepared to do in terms of loans, in terms of grants, and how are we going to pay that back? That is how you begin to walk side by side. So nobody is just going to tell you, okay, come walk side by side. You have to show that you're ready to walk side by side.
Doc, no, I'm hearing this from you, and I'm thinking that we have never had that approach ever before. That's what you're talking about.
Correct.
So it's not late, because there's a good relationship between us and central government. So let's come now to what are some of the ideas, because you're not acknowledging this at all, based on what you've said thus far, that this, whether we ask, is not enough. Some people say 10%, but I've heard from your good colleague, Mr. Vanus James, if we assess the value of what is in our waters, natural gas and so on, and we say to central government, look, this is what you extract here, this is how much you make, all we want is our portion of the profits. He didn't say it in those words, but he's speaking to how we can really get a reasonable, a substantive amount that Tobago can move forward in terms of its development. What are some of the ideas, in your view, that can contribute to why we can get more, only if we see that?
Mind you, if that's what he said, I disagree with him a bit.
All right.
Yes? And I feel that at this time, and I mean, I don't think he said it in that way, but I think at this time, we have to understand the country is in crisis. Yeah? And so we can't just go and say we want. You have to start thinking, how do we all live in this house, yeah? The house does not burn on one side and not catch fire on the next side. How do we begin determining that we put out the fires even on the other side? How can we assist? And you get your bright minds and you sit down and determine what are some of the things that can be put in place that would begin to turn the sector and the country around. You know, one of the things that we could do, take the OJT out of health. Okay? Because health, we're sitting on health as a gold mine. And I'm going to say it. We're sitting on health as a gold mine. Yes? If we think seriously about medical tourism services, which the hospital was built to accommodate, don't forget I was the head of the commissioning team back then. The hospital was built for medical tourism services. If we began really pulling it together and selling those medical services, yes, packaging it properly to sell, you will then have income coming in. That income can then sustain whatever else you want to do in the hospital sector and would be able to sustain other sectors. And so that is one of the critical areas. That's why it hurts me so much, you know. Remember, I'm a medical doctor, and that hospital was my baby. So to see what they have done with it, you know, with this OJT talk, really, really hurts me.
Okay.
Okay?
So
but
that's
medical services as part of a tourism product is one of the first ways that they can offer to begin turning it around. And I'm not just talking about building and starting back a cardiac cath service for Tobagonians. Tobagonians, there are not enough sick Tobagonians to sustain the cardiac cath lab. Okay? So we need to be mindful of how we put in those things in place. I always say, once you implement something like that, don't just show me the equipment. Show me the program that goes along with the equipment that is about to start the same day that the equipment is coming. Which means that if you're offering this service as a medical tourism product, we should be hearing and seeing it in other islands, doing ads up the islands, letting them know that we have this service coming, and you making agreements with governments around the Caribbean how they can utilize this service here in Tobago. That's really thinking, forward thinking, not just waiting to receive money from Trinidad.
All right, so that's one area, medical tourism, and that needs working on and so on. But anyway, there are others, or other areas that we can contribute to the general economy from Tobago. What are some of the other areas that we can focus on? Sectors that could contribute to our own earnings and so on. I could call a few, but I'm sure that you have others.
Well, we have to also treat with one of our biggest challenges, yeah? Because we can be doing that all we want, and in order to achieve it, we may have to import staff in order to get our medical tourism product up and going, right? Tobago is not going to go anywhere with the 68% under education numbers that we have been read out. and mind you, this is a number that has increased under the secretary who was a past teacher and the chief secretary who was a teacher.
All right. So that's in SEA you're talking about?
No, we're talking about 68% of students leaving high school with less than 4 subjects.
Okay.
That is a high number. Okay? And then coming out of that, you only have about 16, that number has, they say 22%, but the actual number is 15%, a number that has dropped also under them. Only 15% are actually tertiary level graduates on the island.
You say under them, under who?
Under the current administration.
No, all right. So let's back up. The education system, whether it is Zorisha Hackett or whoever there as secretary, I mean, I'm listening, I'm trying to bring a fair comment or statement there you just made. Now, the education system is the education system. If there's something wrong, why our students are not performing well, does that have anything to do with the Secretary of Education, ma'am? I mean, being reasonable.
Of course.
Why you say that?
You are the head. If you are analyzing the numbers, you need to demand that something else is being done. The whole education system has to...
While, madam,
exactly.
We've been very
exactly.
Exactly. One minute.
And they said they would come in to fix it. But it has continued to decline under them. What is causing the decline?
Stick up. So we have a problem. We recognize that we are falling below from, if you want, an educational standpoint. I see it from SEA. Our students are falling behind. They have the national numbers. We fall way below, right? And we have learned to accept that because for some reason we accept it. Let's go now to SEA and to subjects and so on. You just said most of these children are leaving the secondary school with less than 4 subjects. Now, what is contributing to that, or what has contributed over the years why we have fallen so low and continue to fall? I am asking the question. One teacher said to me that whether the teachers are not teaching correctly. And if that is a case, who is to detect? We have school supervisors. We have the people in place to find out how well teachers are doing. In my time in school, when a school supervisor comes, the teachers on the toes because they know they get examine how well the teacher is performing. Do we have that level of scrutiny? Do we have that level of keenness to recognize what we need to do? Dr. Tsoiafatt, we have a problem. And the problem is...
We do have a problem.
And how do we fix it?
And, fortunately, unfortunately, everywhere I go, I assess as life and death. Yes? Because if we don't find some way to disrupt those statistics, it will be life and death for many of us. Okay? Because those children are coming out to do what? To go onto street corners, to not do much, to end up in a life of crime. This is all a big circle. We have to understand, number one, you would start with, is there something going on in terms of health with our children? Yes? So children in primary school need to have early screening to determine whether they have a learning disability or, whatever, whether they have a social environment that is not allowing them to flourish. You need to start in primary school. That's primary care too. Okay? So you need to start that.
So you're saying, I'm with you. You're saying because there are disabilities that children go through that we undetected, eh?
Correct.
So our teachers need to be equipped with the eye to recognize. Because I had a problem with sight from early and nobody knew. Yes. And they're saying, but the boy can't read.
Exactly.
And it really was a sight
problem. Go and sit in the back of the class and give him trouble.
So how do we, let's speak to that, because if we're fixing it, we need to address what needs to be fixed. There are other disabilities or learning disabilities that children have that may catch on later on in the years that we will pick up. Dyslexia and other disabilities. So let's speak, how do we find or detect, are the teachers equipped with the knowledge and
But this is not the teachers. This is also health collaborating with education. Yes? To say, let us put some screening parameters in there and go in and have the children screened or go to their health centers regularly to be screened. Okay? Because you really want to build a healthy human being. So you start the screening from there. And when the children, you screen and you help those who need glasses, those who need their ears done, whatever. Okay? Those who are not obviously with something physical, but you know something is going on, you follow them and see how best you can support them. Okay? So we dealt with the issue of maybe something is wrong with the kids. Secondly, you talk about the teachers, right? That the teachers are not equipped now to really teach the children that we have. Because remember, the children that we now have are distracted by television, by cell phones, by all of these activities. And are we, again, I'm not seeing any ad, advising parents of the challenge of giving children cell phones too early in their lives, you know, and the problems that can occur.
Wow, excellent.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so the teachers now come in with children who are easily distracted because they have short attention spans, right? We now have children who want to learn with their hands and some who think things through. You know, why do some children, you could talk, 18 months old and they're counting from 1 to 20, and other children, they could fix something with their hands, but the other one who counting from 1 to 20 can't fix anything with their hands. You know, so it means that children have different learning styles.
So we
are we catering for the different learning styles and putting children in place to do that? Another area is that children, you have to be interested in what you're learning. You have to be interested in what you're learning. Boyo and Carla don't interest people, or some of our children. What are you teaching them that would interest them, that would want them to learn? Okay? So that is why I keep saying we have to change the whole education system. We are under the 5th schedule. I don't know why we can't do it. And you might very well lead Trinidad, yes, because we become the pilot project. They can follow because they're having the same problems down there. Even though they seem to be operating at a little higher rate, they're having the same problems down there. It's only a certain percentage of schools that are doing well. The rest are on the bottom layer. So we need to be teaching to attract our children. This is 2025.
Okay.
We need to teach our children according to their learning styles, and and which means now you have to retrain our teachers. And I've given them a whole lot. Let's see if they can execute.
Doc, it was a pleasure having you. Really a pleasure. We had a lot, and we spoke to all the issues, and we expect to hear from you when you hold your press conferences on whatever matter that you feel needing treated with. Obviously, you're very peeved to know that our health secretary is saying that she's on the job chair.
And OJT.
All right, but anyway, we hope that we'll get to that way we need to provide where we ought to. Thank you again. All the best to you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, at this point in time, we go for the break. When we come back, we take